Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Saturday. This is Game Day Live, coming to you live from American Whiskey, 51 Edison Place, across the street from Prudential Center, next to Championship Plaza, as the Devils take on the Buffalo Sabres tonight, as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. And we've got a special two guests with us tonight. Rebecca Morse and Tera Hofmann, NWHL and PHF alumni, I would say. I hate to say former players or stuff like that. It's alumni.
I like that.
Builders of the game. Builders of the game.
That's even better.
Yeah, builders of the game. First ballot Hall of Fame in my book. That's what I say in Toronto. And we got Vinnie Parise of pucksandpitchforks.com. On the other side in Chicago. Hey, Vinnie, what's going on?
What's going on, everyone? I'm happy to be here. Devils, tough little stretch here. Everyone's making fun of them on X and stuff like that. We need a big win tonight. It is an exciting time, though. It's Saturday night in Newark for this Devils game against the Buffalo Sabres. I realized last year they played the Buffalo Sabres on Black Friday, too, and I was like, and they beat them. So hopefully kind of a little history repeating themselves here today.
Well, that sounds good, Vinny. I mean, you know, I'm all about the luck, the superstition, all that. I mean, I know this is not on the question list, but do you guys have any like hockey superstitions before you do pregame? I did something before the game to break the losing streak of the Devils, but I can't say it because my wife's probably watching. But I took Paul Marino out for lunch to have some steak.
Good on you.
Yeah, but because the team needs a little bit more beef. But do you guys do anything special before a game?
Today, no, but playing, I definitely had some superstitions.
What's that?
Well, I would always play soccer before games, you know, like you see a lot of hockey players do, keep the ball up in the air. The big thing is probably my playlists. I like to listen to like the same songs before games, and that playlist has changed season to season. That's something that I still do as a coach now, even.
Really?
Yes, I'm on my way to a game. I'm like, I got my playlist going, and then I'm getting fired up to be on the bench and to lead the group. And the other thing I'd say is putting my left gear on before my right. That's something I've always done and still do even now as a coach.
Really?
So I'm a bit of an odd duck because I'm a goalie, so you'd expect me to have a ton of superstitions, but I didn't really there wasn't anything in particular that I did before every game other than what I had already planned as my routine. So I didn't really think of it as a superstition. I thought of it as more of like a preparation routine. So I'd throw the tennis ball against the wall. I had a very specific way of doing that. On the ice, I would have a warm-up sequence, I'd call it, where I warm up my legs, warm up my hands, warm up my eyes. And interestingly, also put my left skate on always before my right. And I still do that just whenever I'm putting my skate. I don't know if it was never a superstition, but it was just something that I did, and then I never stopped doing it.
Sometimes routine is great because it calms the nerves. It's nerve-wracking going out to a big game, and if you're off your game, then it seems like everything is off. Like you feel like your mind is disheveled, like everything is so disorganized. So routine is good because it's a comfort, I would think.
I have a recurring dream,
What's that?
Nightmare actually, that like I forget a piece of my hockey gear at home, and I'm like rushing to get ready for the game, ready to get out on the ice as a player, you know, and the nightmare is I'm missing a piece of gear, like an elbow pad or something, and the time is ticking down on the clock, to get out on the ice. So that definitely says something. But yeah, I mean, as a coach, and I know we're big on stressing this, and kind of to echo what you said, is with our players we try to really preach like getting into a routine, pre-game, in-game, post-game, just because that consistency, that routine, as opposed to superstition, it can become superstition, but really what it is a routine, and that consistency, that normalcy really gets you in your mindset to be ready to perform at your best.
Exactly. And you know what? But what do you do when you're on a losing streak like the New Jersey Devils, 7 out of the last 9? Here's my little segue. Do you do things to change things up, or do you still continue to do your routines? I sometimes would try to be consistent, but I'll find something different like I did that day that I haven't done. So if I went to the mini mart and I got a Snapple, and it was a Diet Snapple by accident, but we won the game, then suddenly I'm going with that Diet Snapple, even though I hate Diet Snapple.
I wouldn't attribute any wins or losses to something as minuscule as a Diet Snapple, but
We stick on those things often.
we do stick on those things.
Yep.
It's true. I think in a situation like that, it comes down to understanding what's going wrong and what's gone wrong. And so taking the time to do that reflection in order to understand, okay, is it something in my routine that needs to be adjusted in order to better accentuate the parts of my game that are going to bring us success? Or
Yeah. So this segment is brought to you by Town
go.
Toyota of Town Toyota in Ledgewood, New Jersey. David Decker, buy a Toyota from David Decker. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And Roof, don't
We don't
lose it.
say that word today.
Yeah. Route 46 in beautiful Ledgewood, New Jersey. Get a Toyota from David Decker. Yeah, his sales are up because of this podcast.
Oh, I'm
I
sure. I'm sure.
I swear. People buy our Toyotas. My wife bought a Toyota from Shorts Guy bought a Toyota, and then suddenly everybody's buying Toyotas from David Decker. Sorry to interrupt before. So where were we? We're talking about breaking that.
Oh, you were asking whether we should change routine.
Yeah.
If you're on a losing streak.
You were talking about analyzing
so
what's going wrong.
I think it's going to be important to think with intention about how you're breaking down your routine. Is there something in the routine itself that's preventing you from being successful, or is it something that's more of like a team culture focus, or is there something in the plays that needs to change? Like, I don't think it's necessarily like I had a Diet Snapple versus a regular Snapple before the game, and like therefore I was successful. Although we do, it's true. Like we all have something like that where there's a certain pair of socks that I wore. Forgot about this. There's a pair of socks I wore all through college, and huge holes in the heels now. And I still wear them, and they're lucky socks, right? And you kind of get stuck on these things, but part of having a routine and part of coming to a game prepared is you've done 100 different things, 1,000 different things to put yourself in a position for success. And so sometimes you have to tweak some of those things, but for the most part, if that has been successful for you in the past, it's important to lean on that and trust your process, and trust the people around you are also taking care of their processes.
I'm glad you said trust in the process, because that's the first thing I thought of. Just regarding this topic, because it's something that I say a lot as a coach and try to break down for my players, like kids, young kids, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because, we're all used to hearing that, like in the media, on broadcast, players saying that, coaches saying that. And really what it means is like focus on what you can control. You can control your routine, your habits, how you're preparing for games, how you're moving on from plays, shift to shift, right? Those are things you can control. That's what we focus on. That's the process, right? Not the results. Wins and losses, what we can't control. Because right, it's true that players can be preparing the same way and in their routine, doing their routine. That's always worked and has brought them success. That's why they got to that maybe the NHL level in this case. So it's not necessarily a matter of breaking away from those things when you're not winning, when you're not getting the results you want, but focusing on what you can control. That's the process, your process, how you're preparing, making little tweaks to your point, Tara.
And I think something that you should always strive to walk out of a game feeling is that you've done everything in your control to put yourself in a position to succeed. Because if you can walk out of a game, win or loss, feeling that way and knowing that you've done everything in your power to set yourself up for success, then you can walk out of that game confidently, and that confidence is going to spill into the next game. And when some things are out of your control, like Moose said, but if you're doing that every game consistently, then the the chips are going to fall, the cards are going to fall, like where they need to, when they need to.
For sure. That's very good advice. I think people could take that and listen to it. Now, over the last handful of years, I think college hockey has grown exponentially for both boys and girls, and I love to see it. I've really gotten into it. We've all been NHL fans for a long time, but the college game has really grown. You both played college hockey. Where do you stand on how it's kind of grown over the last handful of years, and like what kind of impact do you guys see it making for, you know, the above levels, the professional ranks?
Yeah, so college hockey, I played at Providence College in Rhode Island, and the landscape, I graduated in 2014. The landscape definitely looks different across the NCAA, but also beyond the NCAA, right? There's the ACHA, club hockey. There's a lot more programs on both the women's side and the men's side.
ACHA, baby.
Oh, yeah. But there's like programs that I didn't even know existed that I hear about popping up. And that just speaks to the growth of the game. And, you know, I think it's definitely a good thing when there's more opportunities available and players don't have to, you know, end their hockey careers prematurely and, you know, hang them up after youth hockey. There's opportunities for them collegiately, you know, that's far beyond just Division I level. Because I know when I was growing up and I was thinking about college and playing college hockey, like it was pretty much like D1 or nothing. There was D3 at a lot of D3 programs on the women's side at the time, but I was really aiming for D1, and I didn't even really know that women's club hockey, the college level, existed. And my brother played college hockey. You know, at Delaware, I knew they had 3 club teams. I know that it existed on the men's side, but now you're seeing that on a much larger scale on the women's side as well, and not even just within the U.S., but there's youth sports in Canada, right?
Yeah, and so I grew up in Canada. I'm from Toronto. And the question is always, do you stay in Canada and play hockey, or do you go over to the United States and play? And when I was being recruited, at that time, the place to be was the U.S. for hockey, which is kind of ironic because Canada is known for hockey, but that's where the strongest programs were. And so a lot of Canadian players were always aspiring to play Division I. I played Division I for Yale University. I graduated in 2020, and I think even over the time that I was at school, I could see some of the growth happening, and that was a cool experience. And reflecting back, I can also see how the program has changed just at Yale, for example. But of course, that translates all across different programs at different universities as well. Something that I was really excited to bring to the Yale program and also continue to think about throughout my hockey career, but really it kind of started in college, was thinking about and talking about diversity in hockey and what that looks like. At Yale, you have this really interesting dynamic because you have people who exist in the top 1% socioeconomically, and then you have also people on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And so you have this real diverse range of experiences at that school. And that also translates over to hockey a little bit. But hockey, as we know, is a predominantly you have to have at least some money to play hockey, and that can create that can lessen diversity in some ways. And so what became really important to me was continuing to have conversations and initiating conversations about what that looks like in the hockey space, and not trying to ignore that, but rather trying to amplify that and create opportunities for people to think critically about that within the game. So having those conversations my first year at Yale, and then carrying that into my senior year and seeing how the team culture as a whole shifted when people felt like they were more seen and more able to identify as individuals, which can sometimes be hard in the hockey space. It can sometimes be hard to feel like an individual when you are part of a team and you do have a team goal, and your goal is ultimately the same, but harnessing that diverse range of experiences is what's ultimately going to get you to that goal quicker and better and faster.
Wow. Well, I played college hockey at the ACHA level years ago. Penn State at the time did not have NCAA affiliation. Then the donation that was made by Terry Pagula, who is the Sabres head coach, changed everything, changed the landscape of Hockey Valley as we know it right now. But one thing I brought to your attention, which I like to bring the attention, was there was a 2022 financial audit of Penn State sports, and one of the revenue generators, Vinnie, was Penn State women's ice hockey, right in the top 5, right behind the men's team. I mean, you've got football, you've got basketball, and then you got ice hockey, and then men's ice hockey and women's ice hockey. It's like, you know what? It's amazing what happens when you got $84 million to donate, that you can just change it just like that. And I believe both programs are doing very well. And I remember even I went to Morristown Beard School, and I talked to my classmates. Ice hockey was not available to girls back in those days, where the girls had to play on the JV boys team. At least that was the only way. But now you've got 2 programs, and Bruce Driver, who is a big friend of the podcast and Devils alumni and Stanley Cup champion, he took that program and took it to a whole new level in the state of New Jersey. So change has been coming, and there's more changes to grow the game. And I think you have to go to female and girls and women's, elevate the sports, because otherwise you're just gonna having just one sector. You have to grow it throughout, and I think it's done very well. But there's still more that needs to be done. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, we're working on it for sure.
Yeah. Well, they're the builders, Vinnie. I mean, they're the builders, right?
They're the most important ones.
Yeah, it starts right here. Like, you know, we talked about the Isabel Cup, the NWHL back in the day, and it was so small, but now it's like starting to grow, and then the PHF, and then now the new league. I think there's going to be more funding than ever, and I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of money, but once it gets there, then it's going to grow. It's just going to grow like wildfire. Would you agree? Or
yeah, and other women's professional sports are definitely setting the table nicely for this. Not just professional sports, collegiate sports as well. Like, think about women's volleyball that's having like record attendance numbers, and the WNBA.
Nebraska that had.
Yep.
Yeah, that
exactly.
was amazing.
So when you know, sports are growing on the women's side, you know, and other sports aside from hockey, it definitely helps us, and we can learn a lot of lessons from those who have come before us, and not just on the women's side. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like kind of a startup concept, and every organization was a startup at one point, right? So I think it's just really important to learn and grow as you continue to exist, and to Tera's point too, finding ways to diversify the game, because going back to what you said, right? I feel the biggest opportunity for growth is really in the girls' game and on the women's side, because it's no secret that hockey's not the most popular sport out there, especially in the U.S. Right? Canada's a different story. We know.
Believe it or not, I like the LPGA over the PGA.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I do.
I'm always like, I should have played golf, because like, you know, that's this golf and tennis. Those are like 2 of the women's sports that, you know, you could make more money in for sure. But yeah, it's interesting you say that.
Yeah, no, there's something about the LPGA. I don't know what it is, but, you know, or even women's soccer. I prefer women's soccer over men's soccer for whatever reason. But another question that we have for you, drafted up by Vinnie, was which teammate was the most fun off the ice throughout your entire career?
Most fun. I had a lot of fun teammates, that's for sure.
I think the one that named you Moose was a fun one, wasn't she?
Yeah, my head didn't even go there, but I definitely have to give her a shout out, Brady Breyer. We played together growing up, and she gave me my nickname.
Yep.
My last name's Morse. She had a speech impediment that meant she struggled with her R's, pronouncing her R's a little bit. So when she tried to say Morse, it sounded like moose. And yeah, Brady Breyer, that was definitely a great teammate, and someone I try to reconnect with when I can, because it definitely stuck. In different places my hockey career took me since then. or has taken me. But I think of, again, there's so many teammates. The most fun though, I think of like pranksters that I had on my team. And the first one who comes to mind is Genevieve Lacasse. She was a goalie on my team in college at Providence, and she was in the Team Canada like national team circuit as well. And she was a big prankster. I remember one time she cleared out her hockey bag, hid in her bag, and put it like in the middle of the locker room. Then coach comes in the locker room, and she pops out all of a sudden and scares him. And it was so funny because like he was like this like, intimidating presence. If you looked him in the eyes, like you didn't want to look for too long because he was a little a little intimidating, as I said. So we got a good laugh out of him from that. So he had fun with it as well, and I'll never forget it because it definitely lightened the mood. When coach is about to come in the locker room and you don't know what kind of speech you're about to get.
Yeah.
So I had to thank her for lightening the mood in that situation. But she was always doing stuff like that, Genevieve Lacasse. So she's a fun teammate to play alongside.
I had a bit of a different experience growing up. I didn't play for the same team 2 years in a row until I was in my junior year of high school. So I was
bouncing around.
Yeah, bouncing around, going wherever I'm needed. Classic goalie mentality, like just here for the team. But because of that, I didn't get to create a ton of relationships that lasted more than within the season. Of course, like the relationships that I created were very critical and important, and I keep in touch with my teammates from those years, but I didn't get to grow with them in the same way. And so really that changed once I got to college, once I got to Yale, where I was with teammates for a little bit of a longer duration. I would say though, reflecting back, so I played with Soraya Tinker for 2 years of high school, 4 years of college, 2 years of pro. Yeah, so we played together for almost a decade. And I think something that when I think about like the fun that we had, I really reflect on the ways that we were able to support each other outside of the game of hockey. And I think as I've evolved through hockey and over the years, like I more keep coming back to the ways that the game has nothing, like hockey has nothing to do with hockey. And that's that's not at all how I expected to perceive the game as I grew through it. But really, as I got older and as I played college, as I played pro, I was like, wow, hockey has nothing to do with hockey. It has to do with the ways that you experience the world around you. It gives you a really good platform to understand difficult power dynamics, difficult situations, wonderful situations. It's your first love. It's your first heartbreak in some ways too. Like it gives you a great platform to do that. And so what I really treasure and what I really think of as fun looking back on those years is the people who supported me outside the rink and supported me by being willing to pick up on a random day and go do something, go for a hike out at East Rock, go for some pizza randomly, have a guitar jam session in a hotel that we had to live in for a month because there's nothing else to do, right? So it's those people who when I think of fun, I think of Soraya Tinker, I think of Courtney Pensaval, these people who really cared about me as a human and really cared about me off the ice, and we were able to continue. Like we had a lot of inside jokes that we would continue on the ice, and that created a lot of really great team chemistry for us as well.
You always need that. Always the inside jokes in the locker room always carries the team. It always seems like that. Vinnie?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one last question that I have for you guys. Hockey, to me, it's gotten so much better over, like, it's always been amazing. And I feel like we still keep getting better, and it's becoming more fun to watch and more fun to watch. And the players are getting better. It seems like there's 40 superstars in the NHL right now, where maybe 10 years ago you can only say there were like 10 true superstars, and I think that's growing at all levels. There's exciting players all over the place. What's your favorite part about watching hockey here in 2023?
I'd say my favorite part is probably twofold. One, how the game has evolved. I think that's a big part of like the enjoyment for me these days is watching and continuously learning, like growing my understanding of the game and how to better play it and coach it and new and different ways to teach, because I'm very passionate about coaching, about leadership, about mentoring players, and about the more of the analysis side, like taking a look at film, analyzing film, all that. And there's a lot to work with at the highest levels of hockey now in terms of like teaching the game and social media also I think has helped a lot with that, where players can pull up highlight reels very easily of their favorite player or player they want to emulate their style after, where that previously that might have been a little bit more challenging. So I think, I played defense. I even think about how the D position has evolved, and now you really need to have some like more offensive upside, to your game. The stay-at-home D, doesn't really exist as much anymore. And then another thing, I'll kind of add to that. I think the less hitting kind of goes into that a little bit too, where the highest levels of hockey on the men's side look a lot more like the women's game, where there's no body checking, and there's not fights happening. So I think a lot more skill can come out, and I think that speaks to a little bit why maybe even the D position has evolved, because the game has changed in that way. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention too is I think even just what we've seen recently with the NHL, and not to kind of bring up the controversies that have taken place thus far this season, but even with like the Pride tape ban that was subsequently lifted, like it's really, I think, opening the door for players to be a lot more outspoken than they have ever been in the past about causes that they care about, even just their interests, things that mean something to them that are outside of the hockey space, outside of the rink. So obviously we've seen players with the Pride tape ban, after that happened, still continue to wear Pride tape, and then eventually it was lifted. And then even just yesterday with Marc-Andre Fleury having the custom helmet designed for himself to celebrate his wife's heritage and Native heritage, their theme night for the Minnesota Wild. And I think that's really cool that he could have very well gotten fined for that, and we'll see what happens. I think as far as I know right now that hasn't been the case, but I think it's awesome that he wants to show his support, and specifically something that is near and dear to his heart, with it being his wife's heritage, celebrating her. So I think you'll continue to see a lot of things like that happen across the league and across hockey, just to make it a more welcoming space, because I think that's something that's really, really important, and we have a huge opportunity in our game at this point in time, given what's happened over the last several months at the NHL level.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think if you break it down really granularly, every fan at their core is looking for somebody that they can see themselves in, right? They're looking for somebody who reflects them in some way, and to be able to express your individuality as a player can create that space for the people watching to feel seen and feel heard, and feel represented, and thus, like, you have there's so many fans, there's only so many players, but there's so many fans in the world for all sports, and they can all be leaders, and they can be leaders if they're feeling seen and welcomed and represented and powerful in that way. I always love to see the individuality of goalies. I think goalies have a really hard time hiding who they are, because you're on the ice the whole game, but also goalies have this reputation for being a little bit offbeat, a little bit different, and that's always been celebrated, and I've really loved that that's always been celebrated. So whenever I'm going to a hockey game, I could care less who's playing, unless it's the Habs. I love the Habs. But what I'm looking for is Like, what's that goalie doing that's different? How is this goalie's technique unique in the game? How is it pushing the game to its edges? How is it changing the game? You look at someone like Brodeur, who really created this new dimension to goaltending in puck playing and being a sixth skater. And now we're teaching 10, 11, 12-year-olds how to play the puck, and that's just not something that existed when I was a kid. Like, we didn't start playing the puck till at least like halfway through high school and thinking about that. And so now it's really become this integral part of the game where you have this goalie who's also just like the sixth person back. And that's opened up opportunities for defense to rush the puck. They can open up for a breakout pass and be able to have opportunities like that. So all these things contribute to this ever-evolving game. And so for me, that always stems from a place of individuality, a place of uniqueness, and coming together in our differences to have that common goal. I think always circling it back to that. And I think something that we've experienced that's unique in the women's game is that there's inherently this opportunity for us to create a space which celebrates differences, because as women in hockey, or as non-men in hockey in particular, we're already going against the grain, right? Like, we're already part of a system that doesn't favor us in different ways, and because of that, it opens up an opportunity for us to share those experiences and really have critical conversations about what it means to celebrate diversity in our game. And so I hope as the game evolves, both on the men's side and the women's side, and any side, any opportunity to play hockey or any hockey club is really looking to diversify their game in that way, because that's ultimately, that individuality is ultimately what's going to be something that creates a more exciting, fun, different game and help that evolution on its track.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, we got breaking news coming over the wire. Nico Hischier's in tonight.
No way.
He is. Right, Vinnie?
Let's
Sure is.
Yeah, he is.
Sure is. Cap is
Good
back.
night to come.
Yeah, and also we want to get your predictions in the YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and X Live as well. We do this thing about predictions, and then we calculate it after post game and see, whatever. But we also have other news too, right? Coming over the wire about a couple hours ago, Vinnie.
Yeah. So before the night kind of got started, the Devils announced that they are going to be bringing in Sam LaBerge, I think is how you say it. And he's on a two-way contract. Now, they have not called him up to the NHL yet, as far as I know, because they activated Nico Hischier off of injured reserve. So we'll see when he gets to play. But, I mean, hey, that's got to be pretty exciting to sign a two-way contract.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? And I think, is Curtis Lazar hurt right now, or?
Curtis Lazar is being put on injured reserve in place of Nico Hischier.
Ah, okay, so there's a connection there. Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, all right, so let's get to predictions. I know everybody's putting the predictions in the YouTube Live right now. You see, we've got all these YouTube Livers, and then, they help us with the podcast sometimes if we're running out of things to say. So, but Vinnie, why don't you read out some of the predictions, and we'll get Rebecca and Tera's prediction, my prediction, all that tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just pull it up really quick. So we're going to go through and look at the predictions. Selecta says 3-2 Devils. Mark says 3-1 Devils. OMI says 6-3 Devils. MC Sports says Devils 4-2. Beach says 4-2 Devils. Codes X says 3-2 Sabres in a shootout. Boo. Nicholas says 8-3 Devils. And JP says a 5-2 loss. But we're ignoring all the losses because Nico Hischier's back and he's going to save the day.
Yeah, well, that was before we made the announcement, the breaking news on that.
True.
So, Rebecca, putting you on the spot, you're a Devils fan, also a podcast fan. What's your prediction?
I think with their captain back in the lineup, they're going to come out really, really strong. So my prediction has probably changed given that. But
you sound enthused.
yeah, but I'm going to say I'm going to say 4-2. I originally, honestly, I think without Nico in the lineup, it's a closer game, but I think I'm going to give them a little cushion there with a gap.
Okay.
4-2.
Tara?
I like that. And I'm always here for a close game, so I'm going to go for a 3-2 prediction. And I think there will be a 4-2 opportunity, but there's going to be a missed net. A missed empty net.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is all being recorded and live right now.
Place your bets.
Vinny, what's your prediction?
Yeah, so I'm hoping that Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier being in the lineup together for the same time for the first time in over a month sparked this team because they need it really, really badly. They were 8-3-1 last time these two teams played in the same lineup together. So, sometimes taking out your top two centers does make an impact. And I'm going to go with a 5-2 Devils victory. Let's get a big win tonight. Let's score some goals to keep them from scoring.
I'll tell you what. I think everybody has underestimated the Devils having Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes together again. I think goaltending will be better. I think the defense after last night or yesterday was a little bit off. Vinny, we're going double digits. 12-1 Devils. 12-1 Devils.
Imagine.
They're going to have to pull their goalies 4 times in the entire game because the Devils are just going to run over them. That's what I say.
Break out the e-bug.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you have the pads in the car?
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Put me in, Coach. I'm always ready to go.
Yeah, that's a good way to get me to root for Buffalo if they were to have the goalie pulled because the Devils scored too many goals. They put Tera in. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll go down to the locker room and I'll take out the signed e-bug and be like, where did he go? I'll be like, I don't know. Somebody in section 12 can play, and then Tara.
I even have my Buffalo gear here from when I played for Buffalo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Be ready to go.
You played for the Butte.
You have your 6 gear here too.
Yeah, I do. I'm ready for anything really. I've got all my gear.
Yeah,
here.
red would be better honestly for today.
Okay.
The red pads.
Deal.
The red setup.
Wow.
We get a lot of red.
So how do you like the Ancrew Brew before we go?
How do you like this place?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah? You like American whiskey?
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm
more
having the
than-
time of my life here.
You're in the
Can't believe
more-
it took me so long to get here.
Oh, well, we'll find the time next time. You two are more than welcome to come to American Whiskey,
Thank you.
Ancrew Brew,
And thanks for sharing your brew with us.
no problem. There's some
Great.
more. We got our tower
Yeah, we've
back
got a
here.
whole-
Yeah.
Got a long
We're
way.
People are
taking care of
still
it.
here. There are people still here, and we're just coming to the top of the hour. But want to thank you two for coming, Rebecca and Tara, and Vinny. Thank you as well. Thank you to all those tuning in on the YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and X Live. Will be back for Devils After Dark after the game to recap the game that was with Scotty of Sirius XM, Liquid Metal, and I. And it will be a victorious, happy Devils Saturday. And I'm going to hit the button right now, get out of here. So we'll be back at American Whiskey, presented by Ancrew Brew, where we make winning memories together, one crew at a time. Till next time, let's go Devils.
Go Devils.